Hey y'all, it's your buddy, 16-Bit Gambit, coming at you with another video. And well, I'd be a liar if I didn't admit that I'm a terrible procrastinator. So I was so excited during the last video and bragging about how I made a plan so I could finally get back into Godot. And then, sure enough, for whatever reason, I didn't. I had a couple dead days and I couldn't get myself to get started. So I said, well, if I'm not going to work in Godot, maybe just make another sketch video. And it definitely went longer than an hour. So first thing I did was I looked up Toriyama concept art and I started trying to learn from the master. And I can see how the face proportions were getting better with each one of these quick sketches along the way. So I figured maybe if I could loosen up the wrist, start getting stuff on paper that I liked, I could complete something by the end that was not just a straight rip. Unfortunately, that was not the case because this thing went on, start to finish, a couple days and probably like 3 or so hours. So, by the time I was actually continually putting down drawings that I liked, it had been too long and too much of the day had been taken up. So I figured I'd go ahead and I'd work on a little dwarf dude with a hammer and a tong and some hot metal as something to close out this run. That was probably a couple days ago in the evening. Once I got this one done, I was like, hey, maybe I could do a turtle man. Looked a little bit too sad, so I went back to one of those little tree imps that, they're kind of fun to draw. Once I got this thing lined out, looking back on it, I think the line thickness was just a little bit too much for this one, because with those big fat lines and then trying to keep it just in grayscale, like it didn't have a look that I really enjoyed. But I need to work on just a couple more generic tree enemies. So although I was working in the right direction, I wasn't working on the right thing. I hopped back over for a second. I tried to do a little bit more Toriyama stuff, and I think by the time this last one is done, I was doing pretty well. Granted, I can't just do his stuff and then put out videos. So gave up on that, and I started working on the idea of another kind of tree-based enemy. And so this one is, kind of a sort of like a tanky tree zombie. And with this face right here, you can see how I'm mimicking a bucket helmet. And I think maybe Marvel Comics has something that looks sort of like that one with like a long central nose. So I had to like yank it back and get more of a human look to it. So I got those like heavy, tired, saggy eyes that you see in zombies. We still got parts of the body that are either wearing wood as armor or kind of fused as wood. And I think the idea of, green kind of vine sort of items that could coincide with like loose or hanging muscles, they kind of gave me some shapes that I could work with. So this one, the line work, I'm actually pretty happy with it. The color stuff, I don't know. I mean, by the time I was done, I had some big, bold colors. At this point, I think that I had about an hour until I was done with the whole thing, and so I'll put down the shape I like. I'll put fatter lines to indicate darker areas, then I'll go back on another layer, and I'll just do 100% opacity lines, just marking the outlines between the different areas. And once that's done, then I go back and on shading. But one thing that I did here that if you can see it larger, it looks better. But, on just a computer screen, I guess maybe it doesn't look as good, is on the outside of those shaded areas, I also put like a kind of thin, hard line. And it seemed to make the texture difference bolder. If you pause here and you kind of zoom in on the stomach or on that right arm, you can see how there's those kind of half transparency shaded areas. And then they got that 100% opacity line that kind of just, it makes it more noticeable from my side. And I'm pretty sure that you would agree with me. So at this point, I go back in, I take a darker red to do outlines between different materials. So the outline between the wood, the outline between, the wood armor or the fused wood, and then the kind of viney or ivy sort of like flesh underneath of it. And just with the orange and the green, I wasn't 100% happy. So I went back in with some yellow highlights and it really made it pop. That with putting some more red and purple on top of the wood. Granted, this could be a little bit too dramatic, but overall, I'm happy with it. Tell me what you think. Throw in a comment. Put in a request. Maybe you want to see something different. I swear I'm going to go back to Godot at some point, but come check me out over on Instagram at 16_bitgambit. And thanks for being a great audience. Thanks for being patient. And I'll see you on the next one. Bye.